Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Revere End podcast. My name is Billy Dunthorne. No Alfie today, it's just myself. That's because we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to be previewing Norwich City's fixture against Preston North End on Saturday. And to do that, I'm delighted to say that Ollie from the Finney podcast is joining us to do so. Ollie, how are you doing today, mate?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. Good to be on here. Thanks for having me.
No worries at all. Before we get into sort of more of the analytical stuff, just give us a very brief overview of the mood at Deepdale, because from the research I've done and what I've read, it doesn't seem to be that it's all that well at Deepdale at the moment.
Yeah. I think following on from sort of last season's capitulation, if you want to call it, after the lockdown, I think we won 2 of the last nine games last season, and that sort of ran into this season. There's a lot of displeasure about sort of signings, season tickets, just the general direction of the club. And Alex Neil, as you know, is quite a vocal character. So he's not been holding back, and yeah, it's pretty worrying times, I'd say, at the minute.
Okay, well, that sounds quite similar to we spoke to a Huddersfield fan as well, and when I was on another channel, and he sort of voiced similar opinions that, you know, it didn't seem to be all that well. So maybe it seems to be a bit of a theme in the Championship. Just Norwich fans will probably be aware of the type of football that Alex Neil does play, albeit maybe with slightly more talented footballers at Norwich, with all due respect. But stylistically, sort of how do Preston operate under Neil, and what can we expect from his side on Saturday?
Yeah, so as you say, probably quite similar, but obviously he's working with lesser players now. It's just very intense sort of approach. I think last season we were 3rd or 4th for passes per defensive actions. I think Leeds and Barnsley were the only team that sort of pressed more. So that's what you're going to get. You'll probably see a 4-1-4-1 or a 4-2-3-1 system, and basically just central access. So as much pressing as possible, and sort of try and turn the ball over as high as we can. Obviously, like I say, we've got sort of more hard workers and sort of technical players. So it's not been as effective as it probably was at Norwich when they obviously got you promoted. But yeah, just pretty a team based on transitions more than anything.
Okay, I mean, you talked about the formation. You said it was a 4-1-4-1, and we know how fluid that can be at times. Is it going to be a 4-1-4-1, 4-5-1 in times, or is it going to be more of a 4-3-3 with free pressing from the front?
Yeah, it changes depending on obviously the opposition. So I think the Norwich play a 4-2-3-1, is it?
Yeah, at the moment, yeah.
So we'll probably go with 2 number 8s against your 2 sitters, and then obviously our sitter against your number 10. So probably be 2 number 8s, but he has at times switched in game to a more 4-3-3. But it's generally just 3 midfielders in sort of a variation. And that'll be Ben Pearson will be the deepest midfielder there. And then it'll be any of 2 or 5 or 6 players slightly ahead of him. So I think last time we played Norwich, I think we might have won 3-1. The season you got promoted.
Yeah, was that was at your place, wasn't it?
That was at Deepdale, yeah. So I think we basically tried to press you to death. And I think it worked quite well. I think at Carrow Road, I think it might have been a 2-0 Norwich win. Last time we played you at Carrow Road, but it will be pretty much a 4-1-4-1 of some sort of variation.
No, you speak about they were actually quite two games that stick out in my memory for that season, because that 2-0 game was when Alex Tetty scored a screamer, and aside from that, he probably played the worst performance in his life. But no, you're quite right, and that was a bizarre game. I think it was a Wednesday night or something, wasn't it?
I think it was quite early on. So the Norwich game was quite early on at Carrow Road, but then the return game at Deepdale, I think it was. I think you were just about around the top 2, and I think it was a pretty big win for us that night. I think Declan Rudd saved the penalty as well. Yeah,
from Stephen. And I think that was we struggled to. I think we must have scored 1 or 2 penalties all year. We seemed to miss them every time we had them. Yeah. Usually sort of would go into a bit more of a season summary, but obviously one game in, so not really sort of able to do that. Maybe if you could talk about, I know it was quite a disappointing result. You lost 1-0 to Swansea, didn't you? Due to Morgan Gibbs-White's goal. Maybe just talk about that and the pre-season, and you spoke about sort of the disappointment sort of post-lockdown. Sort of how has it been in the last few months, really?
Yeah, obviously because it's been such a short turnaround, this season sort of seems like continuation. Obviously we've had 4 or 5 pre-season games, pretty standard North End games. So played Burnley, Sheffield United, Everton, drew 2 and lost 1. So 3 Premier League opposition, and then played Mansfield in the first round of the Cup a few weeks ago. Won that 4-0, but to be honest, they were looking pretty shoddy as a League Two outfit. So can't really read too much into that. But obviously, the Swansea game on Saturday, I think Swansea are a decent side, to be fair. So that was a pretty tough opening game. But like I said before, we're a team based on transitions, and Swansea just sat really deep with a back 5, and we just couldn't break them down. So yeah, pretty disappointing, to be honest. But it's nothing that we didn't see last season, really. And to be fair, Swansea have recruited quite well, I think. Obviously, you mentioned Gibbs White scoring the winner. I think he's a pretty decent player, and I think they'll be up there. But from our perspective, it's just, like I said, just continuation. And I think we're the only club in the league not to have signed a player yet this season.
Wow. Well, that's completely contrasting to Norwich's situation. I think we've signed 10. So
yeah.
I mean, you talk about Swansea there. You're completely right. I think they will surprise a lot of teams this year. I know they relied heavily on loan players, but to be able to bring someone like Morgan Gibbs White in on loan is a really good deal for them. Moving away from on the pitch to off the pitch, what is the landscape sort of like upstairs in the boardroom? Because you talked about sort of the turmoil maybe that's going on at the moment. Is that affected by what's going upstairs? Maybe a lack of investment? Is that the right word?
Yeah. Well, we're actually owned by a billionaire. So we're owned by a local businessman, Trevor Hemmings, who's 85 years old, and this is sort of the biggest contentious sort of development at the club at the minute. A lot of people want him to go. I'm a bit on the fence, but I think basically basically just there's a lack of investment on the pitch, which is sort of continued since, I'd say, 2017. Obviously, we sold Jordan Hugill, who's at Norwich now. We sold him to West Ham for about 10 million. We didn't see any sort of return on that investment. Callum Robertson left to go to Sheffield United, who's now at West Brom. And Daniel Johnson was left out of the squad at the weekend, linked with a move to Rangers. So, as I said, the only club in the league not to sign a player. It looks like from the outside, Trevor Hemmings is sort of asset stripping the club. It's pretty grim times at the minute. We actually had Peter Risdale on our podcast a couple of weeks ago, who's the chairman, just to sort of clear the air with the fans, because they've sold, I think, less than 5,000 season tickets at the time of recording. I think myself, I'm not buying a season ticket this season for the first time in about 15 years. You can sort of gauge the mood just from that, really. And Alex Neil, as we know, is quite outspoken character, and that's probably just stoked the flames to the fire a little bit in the last few days. So it's a big few weeks ahead, because obviously we've got Norwich on the weekend's a tough game, and then mainly just trying to keep hold of our better players at the minute, because if we sell them, we're not going to sort of bring in anyone like for like. Yeah,
am I right in saying Hugo was your sort of record fee received for a player? And
maybe the rumoured fee was about 10 million, to be fair.
Yeah, I think Norwich managed to pick him up for around 2 to 3, rising to 5 should they get promoted. But before Saturday's game, I would have said you should pretty much expect to see him at some point. But after Ida's winner, I'm not so sure that'll be the case. Preston, maybe not to the extent of Norwich or Brentford, but have been able to sell on players to sort of bigger sides, with all due respect in terms of league standing, for considerable fees. Is there any unsung heroes, any players that that Norwich fans maybe might not have heard of? I know Ben Pearson is a fairly reputable player at this level. Anybody that Norwich maybe might not be sort of too savvy about?
It depends, obviously, on the ongoing situation. We've got the lad Daniel Johnson, who's probably quite well known, to be fair now, been linked with Rangers. Number 10, scored 12 last season, 8 assists. Very good left-footed sort of attacking player. But apart from that, we're just a very hard-working sort of unit without any sort of superstars. I'd say the one player I'm looking forward to seeing this season, who's sort of under the radar, is Josh Harrop. I'm not sure many...
Ex-Man United, right? Yeah.
Ex-United, yeah. So we signed him. He scored in his United debut, actually. That was his only appearance, and we signed him that summer. He's not really had a breakthrough yet. He did his ACL start of last season, so it was a write-off, basically. but he's sort of a number 10. So if Daniel Johnson does go, I think Josh Harrop will step up, and I think he actually scored 8 goals last season from limited appearances. So sort of very technically gifted player, and I think he could come good with sort of 30 plus games under his belt this season.
Yeah, I suppose like that sort of answers my sort of next question about maybe like a future starlet. I presume you sort of mentioned them there. Do you think he's maybe, it looks like maybe Johnson and Ben Davis I saw have been linked with sort of moves away. But do you think maybe he will be ready to sort of step up if one, I know Ben Davis is centre back, but like in terms of the next off the conveyor belt, if you like, are they the sort of players you expect to fulfil that?
So obviously you got Harrop. Obviously Ben Davis been linked to Bournemouth in the last few days. We've actually got a lad called Josh Earl, who's come through the academy, 21, 22 years old, left-footed defender. So he's playing left back at the minute, but I could see him sort of going as a left-sided centre-back because Alex Neil sort of prefers a left-footed centre-back on the left. He's got all the physical attributes, really, for a modern-day sort of defender. I'm not sure how much you know of Lloyd Kelly at Bournemouth, but he's quite a similar sort of physical profile. So if he gets a run, he's actually picked up a knock, so he won't be in contention. But if he picks up a run of games, he could come through. And we've also got Ryan Ledson in midfield. So if Ben Pearson ends up getting sold in the next few weeks, he's sort of a tenacious box-to-box midfielder. Came through the Everton Academy. Again, he's had a couple of niggles last season, so he didn't really get a run in the team. But he's got good pedigree at sort of youth level. Probably knows Kieran Dowell from his time at Everton and England youth. So he's another good player, good progressive passer. We have got players coming through sort of when we do sell our better players, like you said, sort of the conveyor belt. So these younger players will probably get 35, 40 games this season to prove themselves.
It's a shame Alfie's not here actually, because you're listing off those names, and a year or two back we actually had like an online Football Manager save together, and I was Preston, and I mean some of those players they bring back some memories of sort of late nights, and Ryan Ledson and Josh Earl. From what I've seen, like I think they definitely do have potential to sort of like break through, hopefully.
100%.
Maybe just sort of to end off a prediction. It doesn't sound like you're too optimistic ahead of Saturday's game. What can Norwich sort of expect, and what are your expectations from Saturday's fixture?
As I say, it's a tough game because we don't know if Ben Davis and Daniel Johnson are going to be involved. We're playing tonight actually in the cup, so playing Derby tonight, so we might see sort of an indication. Like I've said, we will go to Norwich and we'll try and press. I know you try and play football, decent to watch. So we will come and try and press. We can't keep a clean sheet. I think one clean sheet in the last 20 games or so. Okay. So you will score, and I think you'll score quite a few goals this season. So I'm sort of edging towards a 2-0 defeat. I think similar sort of pattern to last time we went to Carrow Road. I'm a massive fan of Jordan Hugo, by the way. So if you are going to score, I hope it's him, because he's not the prettiest, but he's very effective. So, but I don't think he'll start, like you said. But if you score the first goal, we'll find it very hard to get back into the game. So I think maybe a comfortable Norwich win, to be honest.
Okay, well, Norwich fans aren't too used to sort of hearing that after last season. But thanks so much for your time, Ollie. Really appreciate it. Just before we go, where can people sort of find you in terms of Preston content? Yeah,
you can find me on Twitter. It's @_Gorn. Or you can find the podcast that I'm a co-host of. It's @FromTheFinney. So go check us out on there. We've got all the P&E content. Cheers. Thanks for having me, mate.
No worries. And thanks to everybody for watching. If you are new around here, please make sure you like, comment and subscribe. Yesterday we released sort of an analytical video on Emi Buendia and Todd Cantwell. There's a lot of discussion around Emi in particular in recent weeks. So go check that out, and obviously listen to our podcast as well. But thanks again, Ollie, and thanks for watching, everybody.